Sections are a common method used to display and document the design intent of a road design. In this video, you'll learn the basic concepts of sections, how they're created, and how they fit into the overall design process. In the drawing that you see in front of you, I have a plan view showing a corridor, and you may notice these lines that stretch across the road from left to right. These are called sample lines, and we'll discuss them in just a minute. In the view on the right, we see section views, and these views show what it would look like if we were to slice through the road at a given location. So for example, if I go to station 0 plus 50, this is what I would see if I slice through the road. And that's where the sample line comes into play. Here at 0 plus 50, we see that there is also a sample line. And the location of this sample line and the area that it slices through is correlated to this section view. So if we study this a little more closely, we can see some of the matching characteristics from the plan view to the section view. For example, in this area we have a ditch, and these two lines represent the bottom of the ditch. The same is true on this side of the road. These two lines represent the bottom of the ditch here. And if we zoom into the section view, we see the ditch formation on either side. We also see curbs and lanes and sidewalks, all depicted in the section view as well. The red line on top happens to be a section of the existing ground surface. And if I zoom out a little bit, looking at the contours, we can see that that's a fairly flat area. There's very little going on here with the contours, and that matches up with what we see here as well. So why do we have these section views? Well, the reason is, for many, many years, roads have been constructed using multiple sheets of section views, kind of like you see here in our Civil 3D drawing. And the section views are configured at even increments along the road, and a contractor would actually use these section views to determine the construction of the road at these even increments. And even today, this approach is used for constructing roads and also for reviewing designs. And for many of your road designs, you're going to be required to generate these section views and include them in your drawing set for the road design. Let's zoom in a little more closely and talk a little more about the section views or the types of sections that we have. The red line, as I mentioned, represents a surface section. It's created by sampling elevations on a surface through the sample line. Surface sections are not editable, so when I click on them, I don't see grips or any means by which to edit them. The other type of section I have here is a corridor section, and it's actually as if I've sliced through the corridor. And if you've studied assemblies at all, you're probably thinking that this looks a lot like an assembly that I would use to build a corridor, and in fact, it very much is like an assembly. But it's different as well. In fact, if I click on it, you'll see that it behaves as one object instead of the individual subassemblies that you may have learned about previously. A corridor section is what the corridor looks like at the location where the sample line slices through it. There may or may not be a corridor section at that location. In fact, if we look at our sample line here, we see that there's a corridor section on either side of it, but not at the location of the sample line. That's okay. Civil 3D will take care of that for us, and it will figure out what the corridor looks like at that location. You may also be thinking that there are a lot of similarities between sections and profiles, and yes, there most certainly are. In fact, one of the other similarities is that with sections you have section views, a gridded area with labels along the left and along the bottom that provide a location where your section views can live, where they can be housed. And in fact, you can only visualize your sections in section views. Something unique to sections and section views, though, is the ability to generate them in large groups that are organized. And if you look at these organized groups, you'll notice that they're arranged into sheets. This automates the process of generating a lot of sections and being able to quickly plot them onto multiple sheets. For large road designs that may be several miles long, there are a lot of cross-section sheets, and anything that you can do to automate that process and make it go more quickly is going to be a huge time saver for you and a huge money saver in the project. So here we can see about 20 or so sheets of cross sections that have been generated. So as you've learned, sections play an important role in displaying and documenting a road design. Now that you understand a bit about sections and section views, you can begin applying them to your road designs.